Inspired by the famous Michaela, now the low-profile Sofia would like to ask a few questions. Raise your hand if you felt nervous before in a speech competition or normal competition. Raise your hand if you feel bored right now. Expected. And finally, raise your hand if you don't like to social. Wow, okay. So, most of us feel insecure sometimes, while some of us feel insecure most of the time. And according to the National Science Foundation, an average person has anywhere from 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day. Of those, 80% are negative and 95% are repeated thoughts. The so-called internal wastage leads to the internal consumption of the body, energy, and mind, which is an imbalance force and is reflected outwards, which just feels like a fight between your present self and your future self. The creation of self and the way we conceive of and interact with the world around us is constantly evolving and nebulous process subject to our internal mindscape. We feel emotions, think thoughts, and access memories in a single moment, only to change or deny them the next. We identify and sort, categorize and dismiss, and then generate new thoughts, new ideas, and new emotions, but only to be rejected by our future selves. And this constant process is called mental friction. While we would like to think that we are solely responsible for who we are, what we think and feel, we are often at the mercy of external stimuli. This mental friction is a delicate balance that we all must navigate. And to do so, today we will identify and explore 3 threats to our psyches. There are 3 types of insecurity that can lead to this mental friction. The first type is insecurity based on recent failures or rejections. Recent events in our life can greatly impact our mood and how we think about ourselves. Happiness research shows that up to 40% of our happiness quotient is based on recent life events. And the largest negative contributor to happiness is the end of a relationship, followed by the death of a spouse, job loss, or negative health events. Since unhappiness also affects our self-esteem, failures or rejections can be a double whammy to our self-esteem. I, for example, is a figure skater, and while I'm a quite strong skater at my experience level, I'm far behind my age group and often skaters that are younger than me. I started the sport late, and I have been playing catch-up for years. The first time I took a class with more advanced skaters, I was very nervous, and I proceeded to miss all of my jumps, fall on my butt, and thoroughly embarrass myself. I could not know what the others thought about me, but from my mind, I heard the ridicule and disbelief that they sure must have been directing at me. I was humiliated, and it became a pattern. So eventually I lost all of my confidence while doing those jumps, and I hate to meet those skaters. I was trapped in a version of myself created by my own insecurity. The second type we often grapple with is lack of confidence because of social anxiety. Many of us experience a lack of confidence in situations like speeches or competitions or just giving a presentation to the class. The fear of being evaluated by others and found to be lacking can lead us to feel anxious or self-conscious. So we want to escape these situations, feel anxiety when taking part, or uncomfortable doing them. I used to fear public speaking incredibly because I feel like it's awkward to talk about life in front of people that I know, like you guys. And in fact, last year when I first began to try a new style of candidate speech and debate called impromptu speaking, I still remember how I tried so many ways to escape it. One class period, I would be sick and hang out in the nurse's office, which we're all familiar with. And one classmate in our grade who felt the same would hide in the bathroom and refuse to go to class. This year, when I was challenged with the in-class assignment of interpretation from Mr. Johnson, which is basically acting as he's in the class, I feel like it's so awkward and it's uncomfortable for acting in front of a class. So I spent hours trying to get out of doing it, or convince myself that it would be okay. I know that it's unreasonable for me to stress this much about just performing for 10 minutes in front of class, in front of my friends, or just giving a 3 to 5 minute speech. But just to some of my peers, going against my ability may made me feel nervous. This could lead to the sense of not belonging, not feeling important or interesting, or simply not being good enough. And it is usually caused by distorted beliefs about our self-worth and to the extent which others are evaluating us. The final type of insecurity we struggle with is driven by perfectionism. When we fear failure, we'll construct exceedingly high standards for everything we do. We want the highest grades, the best rank, the perfect figure, or to be the top student. But unfortunately, life doesn't always go exactly as we expect, even if we work ridiculously hard. There is a part of the outcome that, at least to some extent, is totally out of our control. Always feeling disappointed about ourselves or criticizing ourselves for not being perfect will lead us to feel insecure and feel like we do not deserve anything. Giving our best and working hard could help you succeed, but some parts of this perfectionism are only plain unhealthy. Constantly blaming ourselves for not being perfect will only lead to things like depression, eating disorders, or even chronic fatigue. So, how can we combat this mental friction and overcome our insecurities? The key is to divert yourself from external view and stop giving power to others, especially when it's entirely your internal dialogue. Redirect your thoughts to positivity. First, build situational awareness. Be aware, and rather than processing your thoughts over and over again, write them down as clearly as possible. Remember, awareness is the first step, followed by choice and change. Failure is a powerful tool for growth, and odds are too. Redirect your thoughts to positivity and adopt to what Wang calls a growth mindset. Second, practice acceptance. Be present even when things are not going as expected. First, take a moment to practice stillness, which is to determine which side the perceived problem is coming from. As we begin to have a good relationship with our imperfect self and accept the different aspects of life, the internal conflict will naturally diminish. Finally, and most importantly, just be yourself and pursue what makes you happy. You may not be the best skater or the best speaker, but if challenging yourself through these disciplines bring you joy or happiness, ignore the haters, both real and imagined, and embrace your true self and do things because you want to. This February, I went to the Harvard Teacher Day tournament. I've been consistently engaging in public forum debates. My teammates and I have devoted ourselves into this meticulous preparation for this event. But she got sick and she was unable to attend. My coach told me that I could be entered in a new style of debate called Congress. And that style I have never even heard of before in my entire life. And that was 4 days before the tournament actually started, including the 15-hour flight to Boston and the 2 days of college tours while there. Rather than focusing on my lack of experience for this event or allow my fear of what others might say interrupt me, I chose to go prep. I wrote down my list of insecurities and I processed the possibility of embarrassing myself in front of a room of peers for hours at a time. But I also figured out that this would be a valuable learning experience. That perfection wasn't even an option. I released myself from others' judgments and just focused on experiential learning. After the first round of Congress, I actually started to enjoy the entire process. The sense of fluency, the sense of self-respect, and the sense of improving. I'm not saying that you guys should light up a pair of skates or join such a debate, but I truly hope that you guys can overcome your insecurities and live your life with confidence. I will see you on the ice and perhaps at later tournaments of next school year. Thank you.